Hello everyone, I'm Alexton96 or Taylor Denna, whatever you know me by, and this is the second part of my tutorial on how I use Photoshop's video timeline to make animatics. This will build on the first part, so make sure to watch that first, and the link will be in the eye above and the description below. So this is where things start to get complicated. It can branch off into a wide variety of different effects, so I won't be able to cover them all. Reminder that I'm not an expert at Photoshop timeline, so feel free to take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing what I learned and use when I make animatics. Anyway, let's get started. Backgrounds are a great way to add depth and detail to your animatic. To avoid having to draw a background for every frame every time, there's an easy solution. Let's say you already have your line art completed for your character, or whatever is moving. So take the group the line art is in, and either turn the opacity all the way down or low so you can see what you're drawing for the background. Then make a new layer, and if it doesn't spawn right where your tracker is, it's likely spawned in a group right at the very end of the timeline. Just take it and detach it from the group by pulling the new layer above or below the group row. You'll notice that it has a black indicator where the layer will go. You'll want to put the new layer in between rows, or it will simply make a new group if there's a layer in the same row already. So we're going to take the background layer and put it underneath the line art group for now. Now, draw your background as detailed as you like. You can leave some areas unfinished if your character is going to cover that space. But what I like to do is get everything in the background drawn out, just in case there's changes made in the line art, and suddenly there's an unfinished background detail I have to go back and do. If you have to have multiple layers in order to get the level of detail you need, it's really quite easy. Just make a new layer and put it above or below the main background layer you already have, and add details as normal. You can do coloring, you can do effects, you can do all sorts of things. Normally, you want to merge all the layers down in the end, and you can do this by going to the topmost background layer and holding Command E and keep merging until you have one background layer. You can also merge multiple layers all at once by taking the topmost layer in the Layers panel and holding down Shift and click the bottommost layer. All the layers in between are highlighted, so it shortens the merging to one step. Hold Command E to merge everything together. This works for Mac, so I don't know if the hotkeys are different on a PC. Once you're done, adjust the right end of the background to the right end of the last line art layer. Adjust the left end of the background to the left end of the first line art layer. You can also have multiple backgrounds if the camera shifts from one perspective to another by repeating the same steps above, except you adjust the length of the left and right side of the background layer to match its corresponding scene. Coloring is another great way to enhance your animatics. We'll start with a flat white color, just for simplicity's sake, and it's great for storyboards and backgrounds. You can also do this with just normal colors, but yeah. So start by making a new layer, and make it a flat gray or a color, and put it underneath the line and coloring layer that will help you see what you're doing. Then make a new layer, place it underneath the line layer and above the flat color layer. We'll name this one color, and all you have to do is just start coloring. Just like the background, if you need multiple layers to get the level of detail you want, just make new layers and merge everything in the end. You may notice that merging layers with different lengths will conform to the length of the bottommost layer, so just keep that in mind as you're merging. Adjust the color layer to fit with the length of the line layer just to make things a little bit easier. Then, make a new layer for the second line frame and rinse and repeat. To keep things organized, you can do one of two things. One, you can keep the color layers in one group underneath the line layers and rename it as the color group. Or, you can merge the color layer with its corresponding line layer. Remember, the layers must line up right above and on top of one another and resting on the red tracker in order to merge. If you want to merge the color layer with the line layer to help organize and make certain edits, but your line layers are in this one separate group, it's a little tricky to get things unstuck. Once a layer is in a group, and you take any layer out of the group layers fill in the gap left behind by shifting the layers on the right side to the left. This can be a little tedious and confusing to bring each line layer out of the group to merge with the color, especially the further you move on and the future line layers are now on top of your current one. I haven't yet found a way to simplify this tediousness, but I'll let you know if I do. It's best to plan whether you want color or not from the beginning, and stack your line layers in ascending order with their corresponding color layer right below it. Then merge each frame together and place them into one group in the end. Once you know how to do backgrounds, foregrounds are quite easy. They're great for extra detail and depth in the shot, and could also play a key part in storytelling. Lower the opacity of your background layer, if you have one, and your line or color group, and create a new layer on top of both groups. Draw your foreground as detailed as you like. Then adjust the length of the foreground to the background length for a simple shot. Or if things are moving in the foreground, like a crowd, you can have multiple foreground shots to indicate motion. This is the part where it gets a little complicated. You can stick to having one background and one foreground per scene, and you can also have multiple backgrounds and foregrounds for multiple scenes, and you can also have multiple layers of backgrounds and foregrounds in a single scene. You can add a lot of depth to one singular scene by adding multiple layers of foreground or background, but just make sure to organize them so you can easily adjust a certain layer if need be. For example, in the foreground, you can have something close to the camera, and you can have atmospheric lighting. Simply make a new layer and place it on top of everything else and draw what you'd like for the atmospheric effect. Or if you'd like someone in the background to move, make a new layer and place it above the background layer and underneath the main subject's layers. Then draw the background character or characters moving as you please. You can even do 3 layers of backgrounds or 3 layers of foreground. It all really depends on the effect that you want to achieve. Having multiple characters in the same scene move at different intervals helps with flow and readability. You can technically draw both characters in the same frame doing different things, or if one of them stays still, draw the still character the same until it's their turn to move, but it's both time-consuming and a little confusing for the eyes since our eyes notice small changes right away. Instead, we're going to make a whole new group for our other character. Create a new layer, and sketch your second character and their movements just as you did the first. You can add a polished line art on top and color underneath like we did before. I try to keep characters reacting at different times by having their frames not line up exactly, even if they may be reacting at something at the same time. And this helps it feel a lot more believable. Compile all the second character's movements into one group, and name the group after the second character. You can do this for however many characters you want to add to a scene. Really, there's so many possibilities for effects in scenes when you understand these basic techniques. And that's all for this video, but I hope it was useful for you in making your very own animatic. I hope what I said was clear. Sometimes sentences in my head make perfect sense to me until I actually say them. There's still quite a bit more things that I've learned, so there's definitely going to be more tutorials in the future. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!